Hi, thank you for watching Dig Into China. I'm Dong Shang. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. After the 20th National Congress, Xi Jinping successfully won re-election and consolidated his power, replacing almost all of the existing officials with his own appointees. How Xi Jinping was able to consolidate the power within a decade and become a dictator? This is a meaningful and a thought-provoking question from a political science and academic perspective. Chinese society was deeply scarred after the Mao Zedong era and the Cultural Revolution, leading the senior leadership of the Chinese Communist Party to recognize the need to prevent another authoritarian leader like Mao emerging within the party. Xi Jinping's emergence as a dictator caught many off guard, including the international community, the Chinese people, and even Communist Party members themselves. Therefore, reflecting on Xi Jinping's path to power consolidation is an important area of research and study. Max Weber, a renowned sociologist from Germany, developed a classic theory regarding authority that identifies three sources. The first is traditional authority, which is exhibited by kings and tribal leaders and is based on traditional forms of authority. The second is charismatic leadership, which is based on exceptional and unique talent to gain power, as exemplified by figures like Hitler and Napoleon. The third source of authority is support from institutional resources. Let's take a look at what resources Xi Jinping has for his legitimacy in governance, from the perspective of Weber's theory, of course. While Xi Jinping did not inherit his power from the throne, he did come from a family background of second-generation red, which refers to the children of Chinese Communist Party leaders or senior officials. These old revolutionaries or red aristocrats had significant roles during the founding of New China or the Cultural Revolution. And their family backgrounds and social status have given many second-generation Reds substantial influence in politics, economics, and culture. This group is commonly referred to as the Princeling Party and holds a special place in China's political ecology. After the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests and the fall of communism in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, the CCP's bloodline consciousness became even stronger. In fact, in the 1980s, when the CCP just started economic reforms, it began to pay attention to the cultivation of second-generation red. But at that time, there was still some openness, so non-second-generation Reds like Wen Jiabao and Hu Jintao came to power. Bloodline continues to be crucial within the CCP system, and Xi Jinping's rise to power was backed by second-generation red. This traditional resource has been passed down to him from his father, Xi Zhongxun, a senior CCP official of the first generation who helped establish the party and belonged to the red bloodline. Xi Jinping's ascent to power was largely due to the support of the second-generation Red, who have a phrase to describe his rise: "The young master has returned." This refers to the idea that the previous leaders, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and Wen Jiabao, who were not part of the red bloodline, were merely servants compared to Xi Jinping, who is a member of the privileged group. With his leadership, the young master has finally returned to power. Now, with this mindset, it is evident that Xi Jinping's source of legitimacy aligns with Webster's concept of traditional authority, where the legitimacy of a ruler is based on their traditional family background and status. The second source of power is leadership charisma, which Xi Jinping lacks. Upon taking office, he quickly earned the nickname Xi Baozi, and his primary school education and the lack of strong and admirable leadership charisma during his local governance further support this observation. He also lacks authority. However, Xi Jinping is skilled at presenting a humble and reassuring appearance which endeared him to the red aristocracy group, who believed that he would be an easy target to control once in power. Nevertheless, after gaining power, Xi Jinping demonstrated a surprisingly strong use of power, which may suggest some leadership charisma. Yet, his promotion of a cult of personality does not support this claim. Unlike Deng Xiaoping, who opposed the cult of personality, Xi Jinping's lack of leadership charisma is apparent, and his need to promote himself suggests this as well. The third power source is the institutional resources, which refers to the rational transfer of power and the institutionalized handover of power. This is arguably the most crucial power foundation that has enabled Xi Jinping to reach his current position. During the post-strongman and the post-Deng Xiaoping eras, the ability of Jiang Zemin to maintain his position and the successful inheritance of power by Hu Jintao were largely dependent on the position of General Secretary of the CCP. This position determined their power resources, and once they occupied, they stand on legitimacy higher ground. Opposing the General Secretary was equivalent to opposing the party, engaging in disorganized behavior and inciting rebellion. Therefore, occupying this position was crucial. Additionally, after the Tiananmen Square massacre, Deng Xiaoping backtracked on political reform and introduced the concept of a core leader to maintain a core leadership. This concept added another layer of meaning to the institutional resources of the CCP, like a mafia boss that everyone must recognize. Understanding the CCP can sometimes be compared to understanding a mafia. Xi Jinping's recent speeches have used language like our own people and cleaning up the house, which resemble mafia-style language. These factors consolidate some of his institutional resources. Aside from what I have previously discussed, there is another crucial and distinct factor at play: luck. Since assuming power, Xi Jinping has launched a massive crackdown on political opponents, which has been facilitated by several factors. First, the first generation red of leaders who held significant influence and power in Chinese politics have been gradually leaving the stage, thereby weakening their ability to act as a deterrent against Xi's actions. Additionally, China's economic and political model of opening up while tightening control has resulted in numerous problems and dissatisfactions, leading to societal unrest and calls for political reform. Despite this, many Chinese people have high hopes for Xi Jinping and his ability to deliver on these reforms. Xi's anti-corruption campaign has gained widespread support across all levels of Chinese society, with many believing that he needs to consolidate his power first before he can effectively implement reform. Furthermore, Xi has gained popular resources both domestically and internationally, with the United States even assisting him in getting rid of his most dangerous opponent, Bo Xilai. As a result, Xi Jinping's initial term in power focuses on consolidating his control and neutralizing his opponents through the anti-corruption campaign, while his second term has been him rise to a position of unprecedented power and influence. To sum up, Xi Jinping derives his primary source of power from the highly authoritarian Chinese Communist Party system. This system places the party above the state. The party's leader is also above the party, with the people subservient to the party and its leader. Mao Zedong's excessive control over the party led to economic instability, and he nearly caused the collapse of the Chinese economy. After Mao's death, Deng Xiaoping introduced a collective leadership system. However, this system began to falter during the Hu Jintao era. The leadership at that time was becoming fragmented, and there was no clear direction. At this point, China had two choices: political reform to completely decentralize power and build a mechanism of power checks and balance, or return to centralized power model with one person in charge. Political reform was possible during the Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao eras, but they didn't pursue it. When Xi Jinping came to power, he opted for the latter, leading China back towards dictatorship. The absence of opposition parties and media oversight facilitated this natural evolution of the Chinese Communist Party system. Xi Jinping's own tactics for power struggles resemble Mao Zedong's, including the techniques of playing possum, pretending to be weak or harmless before striking at the opportune moment. For instance, Xi Jinping eliminated Xu Caiho's power by collaborating with Guo Boxiong's influence, only to then eliminate Guo's influence entirely. This approach is quite impressive and showcases Xi Jinping's superior intelligence in comparison to China's military leaders at that time. Is Xi Jinping a strong man? Personally, I don't believe he is. To qualify as a historical strongman, several criteria must be met. Firstly, you must be in sync with society. Secondly, you must be in sync with the times. Lastly, you must receive support and admiration from both internal and external sources, or at least get noticed. Xi lacks ideology. His philosophy was completely composed by Wang Huning in Xi Jinping's governance philosophy, which is a haphazard compilation of various contradictions that lacks coherence. Though Mao Zedong's thought is also described as a mismatch, it is comparable to university-level knowledge, while Xi Jinping is akin to elementary-level knowledge, making it impossible to comprehend. As a result, he lacks ideology. Without an ideology, it is impossible to lead people forward or establish a direction for social development, resulting in chaos and disarray. To illustrate this point, let's use business management as an analogy. A company's first priority is to make a profit. Xi Jinping, as an inheritor, resembles an entrepreneur. He eliminated his relatives, old shareholders, and professional managers left by the previous owner, centralizing power in himself. However, if the company fails to make a profit, the entrepreneur has failed. In the past, strongmen such as Hitler, Napoleon, and Mao Zedong had broad public support, regardless of how they are viewed by history today. Even in China, there are still many Mao Zedong supporters today. Nevertheless, we seldom see Chinese citizens rallying behind Xi Jinping. Furthermore, his international reputation is terrible, with many people considering him to be a joke. The Xi Jinping administration is highly unusual and goes against common sense, not only for the Communist Party but even for basic political norms. For instance, the decision-making mechanism of the political bureau requires committee members to vote, and the committee should have an odd number of members, which is common practice for any country or business. However, the Standing Committee of the Communist Party's Politburo previously held 25 members, and Xi Jinping reduced it to 24, an even number that is highly contrary to common sense. Consequently, the uncertainty of the Communist Party's governance has significantly increased, with one of the reasons being Xi Jinping's actions. He has flouted all norms and systems. He used existing norms and systems to gain power, and then shattered everything and used whatever served his own interests. This has raised the political uncertainty and unpredictability, which is a significant problem. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.